Tonight, a worldwide exclusive. Princess Diana, as you've never heard her before.
I hated myself so much. I didn't think I was good enough.
This is the story the royal family doesn't want you to hear. A story so damning, Diana had to record it secretly on tape.
My husband made me feel so inadequate in every possible way.
She hoped the tapes would change her life for the better. They wound up changing history. Now, 6 years after her death, her voice will finally be heard. Diana, intimate and unrehearsed.
I said, I can't marry him. I can't do this. This is absolutely unbelievable.
Both joyful and anguished.
I was just so desperate. I knew what was wrong with me.
With remarkably candid confessions and explosive revelations.
I was trying to cut my wrist with razor blades.
Plus, never-before-seen video that offers a rare glimpse at the lighter side of a princess.
I haven't a clue to that question.
And exclusive interviews with Diana's closest friends, some talking for the first time. Tonight, an NBC special, Princess Diana, The Secret Tapes.
Consequences of a tell-all interview were potentially catastrophic. Buckingham Palace could dismiss her as a lunatic. The press could turn against her. Diana might gain her freedom, but as Colthurst repeatedly warned her, the cost could be unbearable.
The monarch had control over Diana's children, something she was acutely aware of. They might try to label her as psychiatrically unsound, that she would then lose her 2 children.
Colthurst urged her to tell her story through an intermediary. A book, he argued, would give Diana more control over how the story was told.
She was going to say something anyway. That was going to happen. Whether that was going to be a loose cannon and an uncontrolled explosion, or whether it was going to be something which people subsequently could understand her well and therefore be sympathetic to her. The question was then, how could it be done?
Colthurst did know one reporter he thought he could trust. Andrew Morton was working on an unauthorized biography of the princess when Colthurst arranged to meet him and offered him a chance to write the authorized kind.
James kind of said, do you want an interview? I said, yeah, of course I do.
Andrew phoned me one day and said, Mike, you're not going to believe this, and he was absolutely right.
Morton took Colthurst to meet publisher Michael O'Mara, who had helped to promote the fairy tale version of the royal family in a series of best-selling picture books. O'Mara thought Colthurst was making the whole thing up.
I took some of the books I previously published off my
recording sessions. This is a photograph he took of one of them. With a list of questions in hand, Colthurst started with her childhood.
Any things that stand out, particularly in your childhood?
No. I mean, it was a very unhappy childhood. Parents were busy sorting themselves out.
The divorce was vicious.
I remember seeing my father slap my mother across the face, and I was hiding behind a door, and she was crying. And I remember Mummy cried an awful lot.
There were a few subjects she liked.
History fascinated me, Jews and Stuarts, and all that, adored that. But I never anticipated I'd end up in the books.
Were you popular as a pupil?
Yes.
Yeah, well, you got on all right.
Adored them.
You didn't shout.
Dangerous things.
But Sarah's little sister wasn't all that impressed.
First impact was, God, what a sad man. And he came in with his Labrador, and my sister was all over him like a sort of bad rash. I thought, God, he must really hate that. And I kept out of the way. I remember being a fat, podgy, non-makeup, unsmart lady, but I made a lot of noise, and he liked that.
Anna, meanwhile, moved to London to an expensive Kensington apartment she shared with a few girlfriends. She signed on to work as a kindergarten teacher. It was one of the happiest times in her life.
It was nice being with fat with girls, and I loved that. It was great. Laughed my head off there.
But life was about to get complicated. Just after she turned 18, Diana met Prince Charles again at a friend's house. This time, the prince, now 30, and under great pressure to find a proper wife, took a more active interest in her.
Her breeding was perfect.
Mates.
Champagne flew pretty quick.
And moved in with the royal family to start preparing for the wedding. A door closed on her old life forever.
I left my flat for the last time, and suddenly I had a policeman. And my policeman the night before the engagement had said to me, I just want you to know that this is your last night of freedom ever in the rest of your life, so make the most of it. And it's like a sword went in my heart. Bulimia started the week after we got engaged. My husband put his hand on my waistline and said, "Oh, a bit chubby here, aren't we?" And that triggered off something in me. And I remember the first time I made myself sick, I was so thrilled, because I thought, right, this is the release, the tension.
Of bulimia the night before her wedding. After she found a bracelet Charles was giving Camilla.
There is bunting going up all over London, and there are pictures of the royal couple in just about every shop window in town.
And the Camilla thing, so I was desperate.
Some people are already staking out seats along...
I ate everything I could possibly find, and I was sick as a parrot that night, and it was such an indication of what was going on.
Any woman in Diana's position might have called the whole thing off. But there were more than two people in this relationship. There were millions. She saw the Bahamas. Using a very long lens, Lennox snapped pictures of a pregnant princess in a bikini. She was distraught.
I was horrified, because I'd never walked around looking like that in a bikini.
The Queen called it the blackest day in the history of British journalism.
Overstepped a line.
Rail against Charles' lack of support.
My husband made me feel so inadequate in every possible way that each time I came up for air, he pushed me down again.
I'll tell you this.
Stay in Scotland.
The media said I'd come down because I was bored of all the rain up in Scotland and I wanted to go shopping, which was absolute bull. I was very ill, but we were trying to hide that from everybody. I had to come down for treatment because I was so depressed and I was trying to cut my wrist with razor blades.
And she recalled another incident.
After 5 years of being married, my sister Jane came up to see me, and I had a V-neck on and shorts. She said, "Dutch, what's that marking on your chest?" And I said, "Oh, it's nothing." She said, "What is it?" And the night before, I wanted to talk to Charles about something. He wouldn't listen to me. He said I was crying wolf. So I picked up his penknife off his dressing table and scratched myself heavily down my chest and my both thighs. There was a lot of blood, and it hadn't made any reaction whatsoever.
Suicide attempts or desperate calls for help. It didn't much matter, Diana said. No one was listening.
I was just so desperate. I knew what was wrong with me, but nobody else around me understood me. I needed rest and to be looked after inside my house, and for people to understand the torment and the anguish going on in my head.
But it was basically a cry for help.
Desperate cry for help, and I'm not spoilt. I just need to be allowed to adapt to my new position.
Diana would have